us on to the minutes for the May 21st Planning Commission meeting. Do I have a motion to change or adopt those, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes of the May 21st meeting as it is.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Ritter. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that takes us to the first public hearing of the evening, special exception 24-1001, Leach Cottage Industry. Ms. Summers, would you mind to introduce this application, please?
Sure. Special exception 24-1001, the property owners are Andrew and Jennifer Leach, tax map parcel 4814J. The property is located at 130 Juba Mountain Lane. It is 31.556 acres in size, and it is zone conservation. They have applied for the special exception for a cottage industry for wine wholesale. This will be for storage of wine only, and will not be, nothing will be made on the property. The applicant proposes that they will pick up and deliver the inventory in a private personal vehicle, and only on-site storage will be held there. BoardDocs commented that the existing entrance meets their standards and they have no objections. The health department commented that the barn where the product is being held does not have water or sewer, not intended for human occupancy. So they really didn't have any jurisdiction over it and no objections. Staff recommended conditions of 1, no commercial traffic, 2, no employees permitted, and 3, no on-site sales permitted.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Are the applicants present? Would you like to add anything to the record at this time?
Present.
Would you like to add anything to the record? We ask that everyone use the microphone. You all have another opportunity to comment later if you'd like.
I have nothing to add, but thank you for your consideration.
That sounds good. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to talking to you in a bit. All right, and with that, if we can go ahead, I'll open the public hearing on special exception 24-10-01 for the leaches for cottage industry. Anyone that wishes to speak on this item, please come to the microphone and identify yourself by your name and the district in which you reside. And we have quite an ambitious agenda this evening, so if you could keep your comments to under 5 minutes, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. Yes.
My name is Karen Hunt, Jackson District. When I looked up the definition of a cottage industry, what I primarily find are references to small-scale manufacturing of goods by people in their homes. When I look up the definition of a warehouse, what I find are references to a building used for storing goods that are used by manufacturers, importers, exporters, wholesale, transport businesses, and the like, or a place where products or materials can be stored before they are moved to another location. The barn in the application is a beautiful barn. Like, I really honestly wish that was my barn. I've got barn envy. The applicant proposes to use the barn for the wholesale wine storage, and it's noted in the county tax records as a 2-story building that is 24 feet by 36 feet. So that would be 864 square feet per floor times 2 for a total of 1,728 square feet in gross area. And that's not including, looks like there's maybe a little lower basement area. Per ordinance 170-62E, it lists additional standards for cottage industries, and it states, number 4, that such a use shall be conducted within the dwelling of the proprietor or within a separate structure not exceeding 1 story or 1,000 square feet in gross area, and shall, if practical, be located to the rear of the proprietor's dwelling. And then number 5, except for articles produced or substantially repaired on the premises, no stock in trade shall be displayed, stored, or sold on the premises. And then it goes on to mention something about substantially repaired. I love wine. and I really wish that that barn were mine, but it appears that the cottage industry section of our ordinance doesn't fit for this special exception. I don't object to the concept of a wine wholesale storage business, but I don't think this is the proper avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this application?
Karen, real quick, what section was that? 162 or 32?
170, 62E, 4 and 5.
Thank you.
Nita Ramos, Hampton District. Don't think this is the right place to have a storage facility. There's commercial and industrial property in this county, which would be much more likely to be a place for such a thing. Also, the fact that it's a conservation area, I do object to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Anyone else wishing to speak on this application?
My name is John Donnell. My wife Susan and I are the Leach's neighbors on Juma Mountain Lane. There are 3 properties on this private lane. Ours is the closest to theirs. Drew's a good neighbor. He helps maintain our private road and the other common areas that the 3 properties share. He is a good local citizen. When he first came here 5 or more years ago, I'm not quite sure when, he joined the rescue squad. He's been involved actively in that ever since. He is a good man. He served in the military, in the Army as an officer. His wife, Ginny, also served in the military as a helicopter pilot, and their 2 grown children served in the military. In short, Susan and I support this application. As we understand, the other owner on Juma Mountain Lane, a longtime resident, Andre Lang, also supports the application. We foresee no burden on the road or inconvenience as a result of this wholesale business. In fact, to the extent it has any community impact, we think and hope, given restaurant prices these days, that having a local distributor, a local wholesale distributor, will allow restaurant owners to get better prices, hopefully passed on to the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this application? If there's no one else wishing to speak, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And this is your opportunity to make additional comments at this time, if you would like to, Mr. Leach. Or Mrs. Leach.
Hi, thank you to the board and for all the comments. It's really helpful to have the feedback, and we are willing to modify as necessary to make sure that we're in accordance with the Rappahannock County requirements. What I do want to say, though, is that we've had the ABC inspector out to look at our space, and we're only using a 12 by 12 space of our secured barn. We're not using the entire barn. And we were able to pass the inspection with ABC as a preliminary matter. So to the extent that weighs on the board's consideration, I appreciate it. And the impact of the business would be quite small, since it would only be storage of a very small amount of wine. We don't have any employees other than my husband using his personal vehicle to transport the cases of wine to and from the barn. So thank you for the comment and consideration.
Thank you. You might want to hang out by the microphone in case there's questions from the commission.
Sure.
And with that, I would turn to my fellow commissioners for questions or comments, if anyone would like to start. Since you'd like to start.
I've actually, again, full disclosure, I am a neighbor, and they make so much noise. No, I'm just kidding. This is the first time I've actually, well, other than when I went up to view the facility. Beautiful up there. I just had a couple of questions. I think you've already answered them. The actual sales, where will they take? Was it done online, or is it in person, or, you know what I mean, the actual sales? Is it just an order thing?
Yeah, it's just an order thing, and so it would be a minimal. We do have a website which isn't live yet, but it would be, very minimal sort of sale interaction.
So Mr. Leach would be the delivery man?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to have a sign on it? No.
And no signs. We don't need any signage because it's just.
No signage allowed, and there's no retail sales allowed,
Okay.
according to alcohol.
Up there, nothing, no, okay.
It's
that was
forbidden.
the question.
I would lose my license.
And real quick, Mr. Donnell, you don't have any issues with that road, because I know that's a privately maintained, and I can imagine in the winter, that's takes a lot of your time. I have a similar road, not quite that long, but I'm sure. That actually answers my question. I mean, I've been going for a month, so I'll wait and let everyone chime in.
Thank you, Tommy. Yes.
So this is a new business?
This is a new business, right?
In your write-up, you said pick up 1 to 4 on Saturdays, I believe.
Okay,
There's no time for pickup, I have to deliver.
You deliver.
I have to drive my own personal existing vehicle and deliver. There's no pickup, there's no commercial truck.
So the wine gets to your house by how?
I have to go to a bonded warehouse to pick it up,
Okay.
and I have to bring it to the warehouse according to ABC rules,
And then you take it
and
out
then
from
I
there.
have to take it to a retailer.
Okay, so this 1 to 4 in here was
I
mistaken.
don't, he was asking when I intend to do it, I don't know what 1 to 4 is probably.
I thought it was something like 1 to 4 in here. Might be wrong, but are you property in land use?
Excuse me?
Is your 30 acres in land use? Do you fill out papers with the Commissioner of Revenue that says you're growing trees or something to get reduced taxes? Well, but if they're in conservation, they still pay regular taxes.
I believe I do
Yes, you do.
a tree, but it's only for a portion of the acreage.
yes.
So are you?
There's tree,
You said a portion of the property is
No,
for.
if your property, you still have to file a land use if you're zone conservation. You do. You don't get it automatically.
If you're under a conservation easement.
You're not under a conservation easement, you're just zone conservation.
I'm sorry.
we're not under conservation easement.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
We are taxed.
So do you file land use?
Portion of, I'm not familiar with your terms. A portion of our property has every 2-year tree plan, and a portion of it gets taxipated to that plan.
Okay, so you
The other
are land
portion
use.
is, yeah.
Okay.
if you-
So is your whole place wooded?
No.
How much is not wooded?
I think it's right around the house.
So you got 1 acre, 2 acres not wooded, and everything else is. So more likely, 25 to 28 acres of your property is in land use.
I have to look
We
at
can
the
get back
records.
to you on specifics on that.
I think you're on the right track now.
Yeah, so my comment is that, the way land use works, and the way the county assessment works, is that your house in 1 acre is assessed for something, a normal amount as a building lot, and then all the additional acreage is assessed at another number, maybe, let's say, for example, 10,000 an acre, maybe. And then if you put your property in land use, that other land is diminished in value down to a nominal rate, and you get a very substantial savings in taxes. So it seems that if you're gonna have this industrial, commercial use, warehouse use here, that I guess something should be looked at in terms of some additional part of that conservation land use maybe should come out of that. Because
There's no new building. The existing building is already being taxed.
however, that building and that site is being looked at as an agricultural use. Now you're putting it over to a commercial use. So it seems that there's some appropriate taxation issue here.
Sir, we're not zoned agriculture, we're zoned conservation, and I believe that any sort of conservation tree associated property is not the property where our buildings are. I think our building site is carved out, and I want to say it's an acre, but I would have to
How
get back to you
close-
to answer that.
Exactly how close is this existing building to your house?
It's very close,
Is very close,
It's
10 feet?
very
20
close.
feet, 50 feet?
Probably 50 feet or less. So there's like a building at the top of the hill, which is our house. And then we have the barn, which is a very short distance, less than 50 feet. I mean, you all have been up there a couple of years, so you know how close it is. So that's our building site.
So, it looks like, I guess, I can see this from here a little bit better than that one. So, is this building look like, is it behind or to the side? I guess, is it to the north side of your house?
So the building is to the west side of our house. So our house is the top, yeah, I think.
What's the steps?
That's the barns,
I think.
to the left.
Yeah.
We're gonna tag team.
On this one, if you all can see on this one, this is our home, right at the tip of the arrow, and then just to the west of it, this structure is the barn. And this building site doesn't have trees on it, as you can see on the.
There's only 2 buildings. The little building with the shadow is a garbage shed. So there's really only 2 buildings, the barn and the house.
The additional open area there that comes down like a kidney shape, is that an area where your drain field is located?
Not sure
The
what.
drain field is not located there, no. It's on, if you go back to the other one, I can show you where, if you're talking about drain field, you're referring to septic?
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
the septic is exactly at the end of the arrow.
It's at the east
Okay,
side.
The point of the arrow is where the septic field is.
and then that land that goes to the right that's open, is that just an open area there?
That's our field. It's
The
our-
land that goes down is a cliff, basically, it's a hill. It's not usable land, this is just grass hill, and the reason why it's grass is because that's where they brought up the utilities. And it's not really grass, it's a field.
Okay, and your drain field's where?
The arrow is pointing to the drain field.
Okay.
This is just a cliff, it's like a,
And it looks like the width of the private road's 40 feet?
Keep going a couple more.
it's, one plow plus 4 feet, 40, no, it's 20 feet maybe.
Just,
live-
if we could keep with the microphone, I'm so
Oh, I'm
sorry.
How long you've lived here?
About 8 years,
Have you looked at your plat?
yes.
It says 40 feet.
The road is 40 feet wide.
The right of way to your property says 40 feet.
Okay, the right of way.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
40-foot right of way to your property. So,
I'm sorry, I thought you were saying the road.
so the road, the right of way, they're synonymous. So how much of a road is within that 40-foot right of way? Can two cars pass? One got to pull over, two can pass easy.
2 cars cannot pass easily.
Okay.
I would like to emphasize, though, the vehicle I'm using is the current vehicle that I'm using that is currently being used.
Anyone else?
That's all I got.
30 gallons, what's that equate into, like bottles or cases? I'm just kind of curious on vision. Is that divided out on a monthly basis? I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, we're talking about barrels and gallons later, but they're 7,500, and there's a big difference between the two, and I'm just kind of curious, what's that equal?
30,
30,000 gallons.
In like
30,000
bottles
or
and
less.
case-wise, or?
It's 152,000 bottles, which would not be possible to fit in that space. So the more likely plan is about 2 pallets. So
Okay.
we're talking, because I am almost 60 and I'm going to be living down the truck, so let's make it real.
And it's 12 by 12.
Essentially, this spot is to come to terms with ABC rules, correct? That you have to house the lines, you have to have a place for it before you
Yes.
accept it, put it somewhere, and then from there it goes. I mean, that's the process.
yes, the ABC law requires that it be stored there for at least 2 seconds.
So there was above a place like Rappahannock, Warrenton, a very, very, very small office that was probably 10 by 12. And this poor girl bought 8 of these metal collapsible crates to store her wine in, so she could essentially do the same thing. We bought 6 of them off of her at a 25 or 75% discount because she got stuck with them, because she can only fit 2 into her business. And basically, we never saw her lugging wine in or out of that place. And it never stayed there. I mean, and then eventually she had to move because she needed a little bit more space, but I was surprised at how long she was there operating this similar, wholesale type of business. But I think my bigger question is, if Mr. Leach were selling Avon, would he be coming to us to apply for this cottage industry? I don't understand why he's here, to be honest, truth.
Well,
I do see it more as a production type of thing that this would fall under. I mean, I understand if you were wholesaling much larger stuff, but I mean, to me, it seems a little intrusive on our parts.
I mean, I think it does not fit the standard to get to the point. To reference what was quoted earlier in the public comment, it has to either be producing something as a cottage industry or a repair. I think that increases the value by 100%. And you're not making anything and you're not repairing anything. So I don't think you fit the standard for this use. And so I can't recommend that we issue you a permit for this use for your place. I think what you need is a text amendment or something like that, or to be recognized that you don't need anything. But I mean, I don't think that's the case. But I think if you want to do this and we're permitting it, I don't see how we permit it under this. It's not written for a temporary warehouse use or a momentary warehouse use. It's written for production and repair, neither of which you are doing.
Well, there's one thing I do have to do is I have to put a label on every bottle, which is required by importation from Virginia. So there is physical labor on this property.
I don't think that, well, I can read the standard.
How much does that label increase the value of that lot?
Right.
100%. There you go. Value added.
Literally. Because without the label, you couldn't have legally sold it in the state of Virginia.
Right.
Are these Virginia wines?
Are they?
Yes.
It's anyone,
I'm sorry?
anyone.
Can I say something about that?
Absolutely.
So let's get back to the land issue, so I think you're really confused there. So in your assessment, your total assessment on the land is $379,200. And that consisted of $150,000 in the 1 acre house site, and the balance of your land is assessed at $229,179 for the woodland, okay? You got it in land use. So after the land use, the new assessment is $159,900. Your 150 house site stays the same. However, because you got it in land use, the value of your woodland, which is $229,179, is reduced to $9,900. So you have basically a $220,000 reduction in your land value because of the land use. And that's for the tax card right here. Okay? Are you amazed at that? Which saves you probably,
I don't know the
saves you
county
about
standards. I'm
saves you about
following the county
$1,200.
standards.
Saves you about $1,200 a year in real estate taxes.
So I just pulled up the standards. Sometimes the link takes you right there and sometimes it takes a minute. But it does clearly state that a cottage industry shall be conducted within a dwelling of the proprietor not exceeding 1 story or 1,000 square feet. And what's the size of this building?
1,700 people.
Yeah, and it's 2 floors. So it doesn't meet that standard. And then it says the articles produced, except for articles produced or substantially repaired on the premises, no stock in trade shall be displayed, stored, or sold on the premises. Substantially repaired shall be deemed to include only repairs adding 100% to the value of the article. So I would just say, I don't have an objection to what you're doing. I don't think it sounds like a bad fit, but it doesn't fit this definition in any way that I can see. And I would suggest that we need to look at either a new use or a text amendment to get where we're going.
I don't see why he's in here at all.
Well, there's that. And I mean, that could
Permission to
be,
do something you do, perhaps by
okay.
right.
I mean, it's basically, yeah.
Here's my, I'm going to attempt to make a motion because
I
we
mean, I
have a lot to do.
understand why we can't approve it.
I think that I would make a motion that we deny this application and we forward it to the county attorney for an opinion on whether or not a special exception is required for this use.
What about, why don't we table it? I mean, I think if they're
Well, we
only
could.
using a small part of the 1,000 square foot building, what was it, 12 by 12 or something?
We
But
could,
that's a portion that's relevant.
we could table it, but without a way forward, I don't know that that's very productive.
Well, could we table it until the attorney
Yes,
comes back?
that would be,
They've been out here several times, I
That's
know,
correct.
because weather's changed and this, that, and that problem. But
Yeah.
if we can table it and let him say legally yes or legally no, and then we could readdress it the next, maybe next meeting.
so I'll make a motion that we table this application. I'll amend my motion that we table this application pending an opinion from the county attorney on the nature of this application and whether it can be reviewed for cottage industry use or whether another use or text amendment is required.
I'll
I'm inclined to go with Mr. Sherman's
point, which is they're bringing wine bottles to a small area. They're storing them for a couple of days and then they're moving. There's no commercial activity and there's no industry. I mean, I don't know why we're concerned about it.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I wouldn't want to take that route unless we had an opinion from the county attorney on the record.
Yeah, because I think you're getting into the ABC laws too, as far as the storage and stuff. I mean, it's like an FFL deal. You have to have a storefront now.
Exactly.
You can't do it out of your basement anymore. Now, I'm not saying that applies to the ABC thing, but I think part of this, the county attorney looks at it, you would be able to decipher whether in fact it's that definition, or there's a whole nother one, or they don't need any permission.
Is the ABC requiring some action on our part?
No.
Okay.
No, I already have the last.
I was kind of wondering about that.
All right. So I made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Sis. Yes, discussion is welcome.
Okay, so I see three things here that hurdles that I'm concerned about. Number one, you have to think about this type of cottage use in a conservation zone area. And that's a new item I don't think we've ever approved before, so that's a new baby that we're creating, number one. Number two, you're putting this cottage activity, which is, you see what the ABC license is, you hear their intent, that is gonna allow this use on a private road, another baby that we're creating. And the final thing is that I really believe that if we approve this, some portion of that land needs to come out of land use to reflect the commercial use of this additional land, probably 1 acre. Should come out of land use and, be taxed correctly and give integrity to our land use program and to what's going on. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think those are all very good points.
Do we know what that, right now, the house is separated, but does that include the barn? Or we don't know?
When the county creates a 1 acre imaginary site.
Yeah.
Okay, so that can be to the right, to the left, they don't draw 1 acre.
Okay.
So, but this should not, this as a separate use, should be taxed separately on that 1 acre site.
All right,
That's my discussion, Marco.
I think it's good. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So we're going to seek the instruction of the county attorney, which we think is a very good course of due diligence, and we will look forward to catching up with you with his opinion, so we head in the right direction.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry to keep you waiting. That takes us to the next item of the night, the updated fee schedule for zoning, subdivision, building, and erosion and sediment control. Would you mind introducing this for us, please?
Sure. At the planning commission's last meeting, there was a recommendation to go ahead and take this to public hearing. The board of supervisors has reviewed the proposed fee schedules and have endorsed them. The planning commission simply at this time needs to hear from the public and make a recommendation to the board of supervisors, who will hold their public hearing on this on July the 7th.
Thank you. If there's anyone here to speak on the updated fee schedules for zoning, subdivision, building, and erosion and sediment control, now is your opportunity. We ask you follow the same rules to approach the microphone, keep your comments to under 5 minutes, and please identify yourself by your name and the district in which you reside.
Hello, I'm Sally Haynes from the Fremont District. And I know that we're trying to balance the budget, and we have to have fees. I think they can stifle appeals. And so I would ask you to consider, if the county takes a unorthodox approach or makes a mistake and an appeal is successful, that we refund the fee to the appellant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yeah.
I think Sally's point is a really good one. I have some reservations along those same lines. I hadn't considered the idea of if the appeal is found in favor of the citizen who brought it, that it be refunded. I think that would be a really good fix for what is being proposed.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Diane Bruce Berryville, ditto.
Brevity is the soul of wit, they say, right?
I was.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
If Monica Worth, Piedmont District. If I understand correctly, there have been changes at the state level that will require the appeal process to be handled the application process to be handled administratively, so that we will see the results of that later in the process, as opposed to having an early opportunity to review and weigh in on or develop our own sense of what's going to be happening.
Where are you located? Where are you on? You on a fee schedule or you someplace else?
On Piedmont.
You fee schedule? Are we talking about fee schedules? You in fee schedules?
I'm talking about the fee increases.
Okay.
So my concern is that if there are mistakes, then we have to be more vigilant about following the process and finding out something that needs to be addressed. And there's already, a lot of pressure on our system to be, on our zoning to be followed and carefully watched. And if there are going to be more applications that we don't get a good look at until down the road, and forgive me if I have the wrong impression, then I'm concerned that we are really asking an awful lot of the public to come to the table and more often to have a higher level of vigilance to begin with, and then also to pay more money for that privilege. And it just feels to me like we are, for the amount of money that the county would take in for the higher fee schedule, that we're really starting to tilt toward a process that does not favor people on a fixed income, doesn't favor people with low income. And the asset that they're trying to protect, if they do this, is likely to be their home, one of their highest value assets, from the impacts of something that could happen down the road, or could happen in terms of how it would affect the value of their property. So my concern really is that it just creates a level of public involvement that's asking an awful lot of people. And we know in this county that people come to the table pretty readily already. And that the fee increases will create a burden on people who can afford at least, that impacts one of their most valuable assets potentially, if they're talking about a home that could be impacted in value. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. If there is no one else that would like to speak at this time, I'll close the public hearing. Fellow commissioners, what do you think?
Well, all the county departments don't run on generosity. Everybody that we have, they have to be paid, and we have professionals on all levels, degrees and various amounts of degrees, and every department is becoming more and more expensive. The budget of the zoning department's gone up, the planning division budget has gone up, so it's more and more expensive to operate these departments. It's a question of if somebody comes in with an application to do an accessory dwelling or a tourist home or something like that, should they pay the actual cost that the county incurring, or should other citizens of the county bear part of that cost? So in other words, if it costs Michelle's time and the other people that's working on the project $2,000 in time over a month or two to get this here before us and be here tonight, should that application fee be $200 and then the residents of the county pay the other $1,800 of that? You know, it's a fairness issue. And most of the time, when people come here, it's not out of a question of, you know, somebody's trying to take something away from them, or they're here because of a violation necessarily. So you don't come here to distress. You come here seeking to enhance your property most of the time and do something additional with it that's creating value for you or additional use, additional income. So I'm a big believer in that. You know, the fees should cover the cost of the work involved and not be subsidized by the other taxpayers in the county. I think that's the only fair way to look at this. And having looked over all this, I think the increases are pretty reasonable, correct maybe at this point in time, but the only one I really think is low is when you get up to the plan review process, where we're going to basically charge 2 cents per square foot to review a plan for a house. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, you know, a house today costs between $200 and $1,000 a square foot in Rappahannock County, and to charge 2 cents for a review of those plans. I mean that's nothing. That's nothing. 2,000 square foot house, you know, is it $40 or something? So I mean that's way ridiculous. I mean, Falk Gear charges 3 and 5. You see there. And, some other counties have flat reviews, but I think that item there should be substantially higher.
We did set a minimum of 75, right?
So that's the initial 75 plus the 2 cents. I think is that what that is, isn't it? Or is that the minimum charge of 75?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not 75 plus 2, but still that's just, you know, that's like 40 minutes of, you know, somebody's time, really. So that's I think that's way too low there. Every time, I remember numerous times that these things have been increased in about 20 years, 25 years around here. And, you know, and we've always kind of played a little bit of catch up reluctantly with what was going on in the other areas, like, and I think we're playing catch up here again. I mean, like for a special use permit, it's $1,200 proposed, go from 7 to 12. Falk Gear was 8, Culpeper's 2, Madison's 1,500, and Warren's 1,500. So, you know, we're still, I think, kind of really low there. I think we pay people more here than probably in Madison and Warren counties. So, I don't know. Yeah. So I think that's my comments on that. I think the one item is low in there.
Anyone else?
You know, I agree with the folks who came forward that if you win your appeal, I think you should get your fee back. It's $600.
What does everybody think about that? I'd be curious to hear.
Well, that's the one that stuck out to me as somewhat kind of punitive, kind of discourages people from making an honest appeal, and I think if the county loses, the county should pay.
Is this a building department appeal y'all was talking about here? Which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
The $600?
Yeah.
And we're keeping special use permits still in, you're gonna raise the fees on that? Is that just because it's still a possibility?
It's up to the board. The board's gonna approve what, I mean, have they advertised this?
We discussed it before sending it down to you all as part of the budget cycle. And basically, you know, these fee adjustments were part of what was necessary to accomplish the budget.
Do these have to be advertised to become official then?
Yes.
So that they haven't been advertised, so the board could change them I'm
The
not-
board could change them down. I think if they adjust them up, they would need to re-advertise them.
Do they have advertising?
I'm pretty sure.
It takes, it's two-week cycle before the board meeting, however that falls, probably tonight and next week.
Seems like the board knew what they were gonna do, which is a formality then.
Well, that happens sometimes. We could still make a recommendation.
Well, I would move that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors that if an appellant is successful, then the fee of $600 be refunded to that successful appellant.
Do we have a second?
And that's all we're saying about the whole thing?
Well, I was gonna ask a follow-up question, and discussion is that the only edit that we're recommending?
County needs money.
Yeah, I saw a building permit in the paper last week for $4 million, so, if you're looking for money and, people build $1,000 a square foot house, and I don't know whether they can afford any more or not, It really puts a burden on these people that build $4 million houses at $1,000 a
Hey,
building.
look, I hate to raise prices, but this falls under, to me, the cost of doing business.
Well, I'm being facetious.
I know, so am I.
I recognize that. So, I think you look, just like we put cows out in the open field to graze, you put them where the green grass is.
Right.
So we need money, and we talk money every year. Y'all talk money, the budget, the
We
board
have
does.
to.
But, you see opportunities to add some money. I'm not talking about adding hundreds of thousands of dollars, but at least you're adding something into the kitty that makes the class more full. So,
Can you charge more for the second $10,000, 10,000 square feet?
so I would say that, I'm happy,
The public hearing's closed.
I'm happy with the motion, but I think we should also recommend to the board that, all of our fees should be equal to or higher than the highest category that we would compare to in these graphs, which would mean like the 2 cents would go to at least 5 cents. The special use permits would go up from 1,200, to where Culpeper was 2,000. I think we should be equal to the highest on one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 county surveys. So,
If I may be so bold as to suggest an amended motion, if you're agreeable to it, Ms. Ritter, it would be, I hear a motion to waive the appeal fee if the appeal is successful, and that as a commission, we believe that there is an opportunity to increase these fees to align with neighboring counties that charge more.
First, I think there are two actually schedules. There's the building schedule and the zoning, and I skipped to the zoning, so I think we really need to separate the two schedules out.
how do you mean separate them?
Well, I mean, vote on one and then vote on the other.
I see. So your proposal would be under the building fees, building fees. If you don't want it, that's fine, and I would simply, with your wording, Mrs. Chairman, I think, but based upon your wording, the board would simply say, yes, we did that. That we are compatible in the range. I just think that we should be at the highest end of the range, because historically, a lot of these counties look at their stuff every year, and I don't think we look at our stuff every, I think it's been like 5 or 6 years.
It's been a few years.
Yeah, so this is like gonna be running for a long time, so.
So can we dispense with the zoning and subdivision fee schedule then? Steph was, in regards to your original motion, was that we recommend that, but with the recommendation that we waive the appeal fee should the appellant prevail.
Well, we'd have to refund it.
Yes, refund it. Thank you. So that's the motion for that schedule. Do I have a second?
No, I wanted to have it, and that's in her building department schedule.
No, that's in the zoning.
There's one in each.
Appeal is there one in each? So
There's one
sorry.
in each.
So is that a zoning? Or is that a,
Zoning, let's see.
or is that a building department? There's one in each category, 600. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I see on the last page,
Yeah.
appeal building official decision.
Yeah, I think, I'll amend my motion to include both the appeal of a building decision as well as zoning.
So if you amend that to both, then I think what we originally talked about, that all the fees should be at the upper end of the range. You piggyback on that.
Just be careful. Are you agreeable with that?
I am.
Okay. Do you mind to restate the motion, please, Ms. Summers, just so we're all on the same page?
So are we doing them separately or what? Because y'all confused.
No, we're doing the
One
building
motion.
fee and the zoning and subdivision fee schedule at the same time with, I guess I'll restate it, with the recommendation that we do refund the appeal fee should the appellant prevail, and with a recognition that it becomes increasingly expensive to do business, and recommend to the board that when the opportunity presents, we trend higher to reflect what's occurring in neighboring counties. Is that accurate?
I don't think so.
Okay,
And we should be at the highest level of all the counties that we were compared to.
there you go. Thank you.
We're already kind of like mid-range, and I think we should be the highest.
Highest, okay. All right, so we have a motion, and do we still have a second? Mr. Sisk?
Yeah, I'll second.
I thought you were a while ago. I could be wrong. I might have lost track.
So, yes, no, I mean, it makes sense, and because, like I said, we do this in another 3 or 4 years, Madison Page, everybody else does it next year or this year, or whatever, so then we'll right back.
We're at
It's
the
a lot,
bottom
it's a
again.
lot of moving parts.
So, yeah.
Well, that sounds good. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll send that back to the board.
What about the building fee schedule?
Same
The
thing.
building fee schedule was included in that
Okay.
motion as well.
Okay,
All
just checking.
All the fee schedules to the max. Well, it just makes sense that,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think the citizens at large, you know, whether you're a little old lady in a $300,000 house, you're subsidized, you know, a little old man in a $300,000 house, you're subsidized the cost, administrative cost of building a $4 million house. I don't think it's right. We talk about fairness in the taxation plan, and there's only limited times you can do a little something about it. I think this sends a message to the board that, hey, you know, here's a revenue source, tap into it. So I think it's really
I
fair.
think it's especially good comment in light of the fact that the board passed out the meals and lodging tax, and we will have to find a way to offset that revenue. That takes us past the ADU for Simon, which was withdrawn.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that takes us to our first speaker of the night on a comp plan. Subject is Ms. Wales here this evening. I have to admit I have not met her, so I don't know who I'm looking for. And then I didn't see Mr. Mayor Whited in the audience either, so they may have had conflicts arise.
Okay.
So we will reach out to them and ask to reschedule for another evening. That takes us to the agenda item F, which is public comment for the evening. This is everyone's opportunity to speak on any item on the agenda which you may find of interest. If you'll approach the podium and address the commission, please include your name, the district in which you reside, and you keep your remarks under 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Daniel Fletcher, and I live in the Wakefield District. I go to Wakefield Country Day School, where I'm the president of the Wildlife Conservation Club. And I'd just like to briefly speak in favor of the Dark Skies Initiative and its proposed expansion, which I think you're yet to cover this evening. But just briefly to say that around 18 months ago, after a visit from some RLEP members at our school, we were able to affordably and easily follow their recommendations to our outdoor lighting there, and it was without any consequences for the safety or parking lot visibility on our campus. So just that in our case, there were very few drawbacks to those modifications, and it was an overall net positive. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Juliana Butler. I'm from the Piedmont District. I'm a resident of the town of Washington, the former president of the Wakefield Country Day School Wildlife Conservation Club, and an incoming undergraduate student at the George Washington University. To add to what Daniel shared, it's clear that reducing glare and sky glow can be done simply and effectively without compromising safety. Growing up in the town of Washington in Rappahannock County, I've seen how special our night skies are. With light pollution rising, protecting our skies is important, not just for beauty, but for our environment and our community. I support the proposed revisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You'll make your school very proud. Anyone else wishing to speak? This is on any of the items on the agenda this evening. This is your opportunity to speak on anything that is not a public hearing.
Diane Bruce Berryville. I'm looking at section H, number 2, subdivision land, the administrative approval statute. That has to be changed because the state legislature has passed something that requires change here. I haven't read it thoroughly, so I may not understand it very well. But I do worry that there are a lot of decisions being made, and it's my understanding the zoning administrator will be the final word on those decisions. And I feel like maybe I'm spoiled because all of these years we've been able to come to meetings and learn about things, find out what they're about, contribute information that may be helpful in making decisions. And if that opportunity disappears, Michelle's not going to have the opportunity to hear from anybody else as to what she might consider in making a decision. And you and the Board of Supervisors have no input either. I don't know if this includes like special use permits and special exceptions. No, just on subdivision. Okay. So if there's nothing we can do, we have to do it. We lay it on Michelle to make decisions, make them right. But earlier we had spoken about notice, and I hope that the county, and perhaps you would recommend something like this, establish some rules and regulations so that when applications are made for subdivisions or the kinds of things that Michelle is going to have to consider, that there is some public notice. Now, I'm beginning to see now some signs around property about zoning issues, but I'm not sure we're seeing them everywhere. But a lot of places places have that, when something significant is going to change, they put signs up in the area. I'd like to see something like that happen. I certainly think neighbors should be notified. And I would think that Michelle would want to know those things. So it's not something you all can really do. We're stuck with it. I have to wonder, does the county have a lobbyist at the General Assembly? Or are we just members of VACO? I can't believe, and maybe I'm the only one that didn't know this was pending. Did you all know this legislation was pending? The county had no idea. And if we don't have our own lobbyists, we used to years ago. If we don't have it, we are at least members of VACO, Virginia Association of Counties. They should have been notifying Gary. Somebody should have told somebody this was going on while it was pending in Richmond. But it's too late now. So I think that some kind of regulations need to be imposed, not by you, of course, but by the county. But I hope you'll make that kind of reference or recommendations regarding this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, my name is Ava Jano. I'm from the Stonewall Hawthorne District. I grew up in the county, but I'm often out in Utah for school now. But I also am speaking in favor of anything we can do to enhance or protect our night skies. I'm really aware how precious our skies are here, and the stars are beautiful, and I love them. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ava.
Hello, I'm Claire Castle, Stonewall Hawthorne District, and I've submitted detailed comments to the Commission on the proposed amendments to the outdoor lighting ordinance. And rather than read those comments, though, I just wanted to highlight a couple of items of particular importance and also raise an issue that I did not mention in my comments. Excuse me. Again, I applaud the county's effort to go beyond the current scope of the ordinance to expand applicability to residential uses. I recommend, though, that we take a close look at the definition of residential use and expand it to include multifamily units and associated structures like barns and workshops and the like. I also recommend an expanded definition of new construction to include major renovations or additions that would require a permit. Finally, I recommend removing the exemption of property owned by the county or the county school board. The county has this opportunity to lead by example and demonstrate its sincere commitment to protecting the night sky. So regarding the issue that I did not include in my written comments, the red line amended ordinance states the maximum allowable correlated color temperature, or CCT, for outdoor light fixtures is 3,000 Kelvin. I recommend you consider a lower limit of 2,700 Kelvin. 3,000 Kelvin is the CCT upper limit for dark sky approved certification, but lower and warmer CCT is better and recommended, especially for historic areas and residential areas. In its 2019 memorandum on LED lighting, VDOT recommended making 2,700K available. The demand for lower CCT has only increased since that time. And in public surveys with a range of options, people prefer 2,700K. It's more comfortable, it's warmer, and yet it still lights adequately. So lower CCT helps to reduce glare, and that's a particular issue with LED technology. So as you review the proposed amendments, I also urge you to consider the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting as developed by the Illuminating Engineering Society in partnership with Dark Sky International. And the IES sets those standards and recommends practices for lighting applications. So the 5 principles, which are supported by the Federal Highway Administration and the U.S. Crime Prevention through Environmental Design Association, state that lighting should be used only if needed, should be targeted, should not be brighter than necessary, should be controlled so that it's in use only when necessary, and should be worn with limited blue light content. So thank you for the opportunity to comment. I hope we can continue and build on our efforts to protect our night sky. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Philip Herzig, Woodville, Piedmont District. This is about the subdivision of land article. Second paragraph down. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but it says the long-range plan to guide, facilitate, and orderly beneficial growth to the community and promote public health, safety, convenience, comfort, prosperity, and general welfare. Then it goes on, the result of development gives the purchaser the assurances that the buying commodity is suitable to development. What about the guy next door who doesn't want it divided and built on? And then it says the land management to protect and encourage agriculture, conservation, recreation, aesthetic characteristics. I don't see how subdivisions protect those things. And then way back, there's I don't know how you determine what page you're on, but about clustering size.
If you can follow by lines sometimes.
Oh yeah, line 621. The clustering lot size requirement may be conditionally reduced by the zoning administrator in cases where subdivision clustering is required, which is a new term called agricultural cluster. This puts a lot of authority on the zoning administrator and not anything else other than that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Sally Haynes, Piedmont. With regard to dark skies, I would echo what's been said, that I think we should remove the exemption of the county and the school board. Set a great example. Expand the definition of residential so that it's more inclusive, more clarification, I guess. So accessory dwelling units and sheds and barns, whatever would be actually stated. And clarify new construction as including major renovations or additions that require a permit. And if I could comment as well on the new situation with plan review. With the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors out of the picture, we're not going to have so much transparency and maybe no public awareness when subdivisions are being planned. The zoning administrator as the sole agent would have a lot of responsibility and wield a lot of power. In the absence of notices or hearings, by the time the public knows something, it's really too late to do anything. It's a done deal. So I do hope the county, and like Diane, I have not gone through that ordinance to see if there are any notice provisions that would be helpful. But if not, I hope the county is considering notice provisions that would ensure the community and especially nearby landowners are aware of subdivision activity, subdivision planning, and are able to get information if they are interested and have some kind of recourse to object to something or provide suggestions. Thanks.
Thank you, Sally. Hi,
Hi, my name is Lisa Jones. I'm in the Piedmont District in Sperryville, and I really appreciate all the, especially the young people talking about how much they appreciate the dark skies and what they grew up with. I'm really concerned that really the greatest single threat to the dark skies is actually the subdivision and the population growth. And I am also dismayed by the first paragraph in the 147 section, that the first part is about growth for the benefit of. And then the last paragraph in that, the last sentence in that paragraph is talking about how scenic we are and we need to conserve the property. And they are contrary and they're at odds. And I just want to state that I think it's really important that the young people appreciate it, because the kids who are growing up in more urban areas now, that's their hometown. They don't see what Culpeper used to look like or what the area in Loudoun County used to look like. They just are only going to know what they grew up with. And if we don't conserve it for them, it is going to be lost. It'll be just like everywhere else around us. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Joyce Harmon, Wakefield District. I did send in a statement for the dark sky thing, but just a couple of comments. As we look at what we're trying to promote and save in this county, and I've been photographing the dark skies here for many, many years now, and there is a change. And if we're looking to increase tourism, the dark sky tourism is truly some of the best tourists. They come, they eat dinner, and they don't drive down our roads drunk. They go and they stargaze. And so it's a really high quality tourism, and it has become popular all around the world, really. And I think we have an International Dark Sky Park here in the county, and I would like to see that preserved.
Thank you, Joyce.
Karen Hunt, Jackson District. On the state code changes that are necessitating that we relook at our subdivision ordinance, out of 133 counties in the state of Virginia, there are only 4 with populations less than 5,000, which is what exempts them from having everything go to administrative review. And there was a comment prior about, how did we not catch this earlier? Do we have a lobbyist? I think, and I've heard this from others in other counties, that there should be some effort on some of us smaller counties to see what we can do. We've got to deal with this now, but for the upcoming session, should we not work with some of these other smaller counties and see if we can't get that raised to 10,000 so that we can go back to having this come before our elected and appointed representatives for some purview. The other thing is there seems to be some question in the draft ordinance that's presented about the removal of required notification of adjacent property owners, and I think that needs to be looked at very carefully. I would piggyback on prior comments about putting up some signage. We need to do something. We cannot lose public notification of something that is going through an administrative process. And there were some very good comments prior. I will just say that when you have an administrative decision, unless I'm in error, and if so, please correct me, but you have 30 days to appeal an administrative error. And very often, if there is a situation like that, by the time it comes to the public's awareness, that 30-day timeline is extended, and that's set by the state. So we need to figure out here, we're good at trying to figure out what we need to do for us as a unique county, but we really need to take a look at the subdivision ordinance changes that are being necessitated by probably some pretty heavy lobbying down in Richmond that we didn't catch in time, but what can we do to better protect ourselves and to give Michelle some support? This should not be all administrative. Like with the public comment is important. And then I'll just echo all of the Dark Skies comments. People have said a lot of really wonderful things. That is an asset. It's becoming rare all the time. We need to do everything we can to protect that benefit and that asset that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, I'm Tony Van Acker from the Stonewall Hawthorne area. And I have also submitted comments to the Planning Commission on dark sky ordinance or the outdoor lighting ordinance. I think the amended ordinance as submitted to you has gone in the right direction, but there are a few enhancements that could be done to the document before it becomes a legal document. But there are a couple of things that I mentioned in my submissions that I'd like to emphasize. One is the definition of residential units can be expanded or clarified because it tends to focus on single-family dwellings, but there are also multifamily units here in the county, such as the Rush River Commons, and there are also accessory dwellings and other associated structures that should be covered. Secondly, I fully support the comments that were given by others about including the county buildings and the school board buildings under the domain of the ordinance. They should lead by example, and it should not be exempted from something that they impose on others. There are two other areas which I'd like to add to. One is that the requirement for controls on the lighting fixtures has not really been mentioned in the ordinance and should be considered. Controls could be just simple as an on-off switch, could be photocells, could be motion sensors. We don't need to legislate which one applies, but there should be some form of control. So the light can be turned off when not necessary. And lastly, I'd just like to point out that the ordinance as written or unamended allows light trespass, which on adjacent properties, which is about 30 times the industry practice. So if you want to see what the industry practice is, go look at the Rush River Commons parking lot. You'll see what it looks like tonight. I'd like to commend the students from Wakefield. Glad to get positive feedback on your lighting. Thank you for the support.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. And with that, I will go ahead and close the public comment period. That takes us on to old business, special exception 25-3-01. You gotta help me here, I wrote it out last time. Renikiana is what I wrote out. Did I write it out correctly? Okay, Renikiana's application for a single-family dwelling in Howie Commercial Zoning District. With it being old business, we haven't had old business carry over for a while. Do we have any, we don't have a special public hearing time for this again, because we've already heard it. Okay. It's been a while since we had one carry over. So we received supplemental information on this application, and I would turn to my fellow commissioners for your thoughts.
If I may, Mrs. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to recap.
Yes, thank you, Michelle.
At the last planning commission meeting last month, there was a motion and a second, and they requested the owner have a survey done showing the house location, the correlating setbacks to the property lines, and the floodplain information. I sent you all out a copy of that survey plat that indeed was performed. The survey noted that it is in flood zone X, which I also confirmed through the FEMA online maps. And if you look at the survey, it does give you distances to the correlating property lines, which are all in conformance with county code.
questions last time about setbacks and the floodplain. She brought a wonderful plat in here. It shows that after her work is done, everything's gonna meet the setbacks, there's no floodplain issue, and I wish her the best.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
I said, you want to vote, I'll make a motion, it's not my district, but Tommy.
Well, I wasn't here for the last meeting, so, you know, I wanted to hear some of what had transpired. I tried to read up on as much as possible. I mean, I'm fine with deferring if someone wants to make a motion. I mean, but now I know, I think those questions had been answered. Mr. Henry just answered that one, so if someone else has any other comment, I'll wait.
Well, I personally look forward to this being cleaned up and finished. And I live in Piedmont District, right down the road. So I would be delighted to make a motion that we forward this application to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Ritter. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
And this will be heard for the Board of Supervisors at their July 7th meeting.
That's correct. We'll look forward to seeing you then. You all are welcome to stay for the entirety of the meeting, or once your matter is heard, you are more than welcome to leave.
I'm gonna stay for the next one.
Okay. You know, I always tell people it's the best show in town. Admission is free. All right, that takes us to the special exception 25-3-02, the Sperryville Schoolhouse LLC owner and Rising Water Brewing LLC applicant, PM 38-65 Brewery. Ms. Summers, you did such a wonderful job refreshing the last application.
Sure. I'll take this one right on over. At the last planning commission meeting last month, the commissioner from the public, most of those were present here or in support of the proposed brewery. The commission did have some additional questions and asked for more information to include gallons of production, the number and nature of events, including the duration and potential for amplified music, the number of patrons inside and out, and a conceptual site plan just showing in the vicinity of where any outdoor events may take place in parking. The applicants did submit a supplemental letter with illustrations and text addressing each point.
Thank you, Ms. Summers.
And they also proposed a list of conditions to be attached to this permit if recommended for approval.
Again, I know this was in Piedmont, I wasn't here last meeting. I asked Ms. Summers today, I was, again, trying to get up to speed on everything. I asked her today what the various other breweries in Sperryville, what their limits are, and I think, and if I have this correct, Pin Druid up now after the third year was 1,500 gallons. Verdet's 500 gallons per year. Hopkins Ordinary was 5,000. But Rise Mortars is requesting 7,500. Correct?
Correct.
So my only question is, do we keep? I mean, nobody likes beer better than me. Let me tell you, I'll tell you. But do we take, or do we put that level more around the 5,000 limit to be in compliance with everyone else, and in a year revisit it? And, or is that something that's going to impact you tremendously?
You don't mind. Hi, Josh Sackey, Piedmont District. I'm the owner of the building. So the applicant expects to be in the 5,000 range. The reason we chose 7,500 is because the Water Authority requires a purchase of 2 EDUs, and that is that allows you to produce 7,500 gallons of beer. So we were just trying to be consistent with what the water authority would allow us to produce. It's not like you can purchase 1.5 EDUs to get down to the 5,000 gallon number.
So your water, in the, right, I think you said it was your holding tank, but that still comes off the water and sewer authority, the water that you have in the holding tank?
So the water and sewer authority does not provide public water, so we have a commercial well. It actually sits on the golf course property, and it does go to a large holding tank.
So from the EDU, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
I had a lot of questions on this application last month, and I read the capacity, or yield is a better term, with great interest, and I thought that that was just fine to seek that expansion. I wondered if the applicant would, I know you all sought an expansion on the hours of operation as well, and I would say that's problematic, I think, because when this was originally published and put out, you know, your neighbors would have looked it up and read it, and the hours of operation are some of the most impactful details of any application. And so are you willing to stay within your original hours of application, or?
Well, let me just give an introduction. I mean, what I would say is that this document has been posted on BoardDocs, so it is a matter of public record. The reason that we suggested the hours that we did is we just copied directly from the Penn Druid application. You know, that seemed to be the commission's suggestion, that we follow sort of precedent, and so that's what we looked to at setting our hours. I don't think we intend to do that, but we're just trying to provide ourselves with flexibility.
Okay. I mean, I don't know that I can support this application with the extended hours. I mean, the original hours as proposed, I thought, were fine. But I do think it put folks at a disadvantage when they receive notice that something's transpiring next door and they read up on it, and then something's not decreased, but increased. You know, if it was less impactful, that certainly isn't an issue.
The original application also said it's subject to change.
I tried to make it abundantly clear that it was initial and very
But you have to repost that, I mean, you have to re-advertise it.
I mean, what would this be considered? Is it not void? It's not been heard by the board, so it's not void ab initio. Is that what it is? Yeah. And then for events, you said 12 a year, which is more than Penn Druid, more than double what Penn Druid had proposed. And I mean, we had the thing pulled earlier today with what all of the, I don't know who requested this or the genesis of the document, but Michelle was kind enough to pull some letters early, or numbers earlier today on what previously approved breweries had enjoyed. So it's a matter of record. I think that Hopkins Ordinary, no amplified outdoor music, 35 hours a week over a 2-week period, which is not a lot of hours. Closed by 7, limited tastings to 20 people. Penn Druid, max 100 people, 6 events per year with 300 people, no amplified music after 8 p.m. Much smaller yields, different zoning around them than the current application because obviously it mostly faced fields. And then Vedettes, which was not ultimately built out, not too many restrictions on that one, but not too many requests. A lot of focus on parking, which wasn't captured, those details weren't captured, but that's my recollection was we spent a lot of time and they actually furnished a site plan for parking.
The Penn Druid application, was that the original Penn Druid location?
Yes.
So completely different place.
Completely different.
So this is why we're looking at this one, because it's similar to what they're requesting now, as opposed to the middle field.
If it's a sticking point for the board, they're happy to go down to 6 events per year instead of 12.
And one of the things we recently discussed with the Blue Rock, would you be willing to say like no more than one a month or one every 3 weeks? So what we were concerned with there was they said, I can't remember how it was phrased, but then it was like you could have a music festival and have a, you know, every night for 2 weeks, you could have had something.
We have no intention of back-to-back ragers.
Okay, so like one a month is fine. That's not,
Absolutely.
we could do it every 3 weeks. Like you may want to hold more than one in October, or, you know, a busy time of year.
If 3 weeks is agreeable, I think
Okay.
that would be better.
Okay, then the music. We've seen an array with the music of what's been permitted in previous applications. And you all proposed amplified music outdoors, but cutting off at 8 p.m. And is that built into your business plan that you need amplified music? Because to my mind, your location is more like Hopkins Ordinary, which had no amplified outdoor music, because they're on the river, you know, within close proximity to other businesses and people.
You know, the Springville concert series has amplified music right next to that building, and it doesn't seem to disturb the neighborhood.
But it's once a month, and it's, I think they have to pull a special permit for it, right? Don't they pull permits with you?
I think the restaurant.
Yeah, I guess to that point though, also the old Pendruid location that it's now operates under would have the no amplified music after 8 p.m. I think we just copied the restriction.
Yeah.
So it's a similar concern to what Ms. Ritter is raising on the concert series. Good point.
I mean, the lot, it's not a neighbor per se, but right directly behind you on the river are homes, residential. So.
Yes, but there is also a river dividing them, which would disrupt that sound as well.
Maybe, or it might carry it. You don't know until it happens, which is really wild in Rappahannock
if
County
it
how the
helps.
sound carries.
Can you scroll down to the page with the outdoor seating? It's in the supplement, so it might be.
I'm sorry.
No. Up one. Oh, that one works. Either one. So we are in front of the building. Is our room, our public space, so the music would be projected towards the road, away from the river as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And this time of year, 8 p.m. seems late, or early, but there are times of year 8 p.m. seems late. You know,
But those
people
times
that-
of year that 8 p.m. seems late, people are much less likely to be outside as well.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Unless
in
they're
December,
drinking
I'm not
beer.
outside.
What if it's like, I think, yeah, I mean, what if it's like less time on weekdays versus weekends or something?
I'm having a hard time hearing, please.
I was saying, what if it's less, like earlier time on weekdays versus on weekends, if that's amenable?
I think that helps.
Or seasonally?
Well, I mean, what, you know, and not to be, I mean, what's seasonal? I mean, you know, it's fall of the year, leaves are off, sound carries more, wintertime, you know, New Year's Eve party, whatever we're doing, and trust me, I know people drink beer or go outside, but anyway.
I would argue that's their own amplification of that one.
Yeah, true. But I think the Sundays are kind of, if we could maybe steer a little clearer of Sundays. I mean, I get Fridays and Saturdays, but I think 8 o'clock is much easier to digest. And I just, I mean, I'll be honest, I really don't have to vote no against the beer thing, but you know, it's I think we have to kind of consider everybody else in that area, especially Water Street. And I think we made a lot of progress toward that. We certainly cut it down to 6 events. I mean, and it is projected kind of outward.
What about no amplified music during the week outdoors and amplified music on Friday and Saturday nights only, off by 8 p.m.?
Can we add Thursday as well?
You're asking for more, but the people behind you are asking for less.
Are they asking?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be inclined then to just say that I can't support amplified music. If maybe one day a week would be the way to go. Amplified music either Friday or Saturday night. That way it's one.
Saturday would work with us.
Okay,
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday night, amplified music until 8 p.m. outdoor. Friday or Saturday night, amplified music until 8 p.m. outdoors. Possibly every week. Well, we could make it seasonal.
Well, yeah, that's what is seasonal.
May through September.
Well, I think you got, I think you almost got to throw in October, just because of the leaves. So
October
everybody's
would be,
But, and maybe we could revisit
Yeah.
it all after a year.
You're concerned about live amplified music. Is that-
Well, it's amplified. I mean, it doesn't have necessarily, you know, not just live bands or whatever. I mean, you know, you put speakers up outside and whatever reason, you know, Thursdays or whatever, there's gonna be complaints. But the problem lies with, kind of a, I don't want to say a noise ordinance or lack thereof, but it's just, this is one way to give it a test run and then maybe readdress it in a year. And if there's no complaints or something like that, well, we're not, I mean, there's always been something, but I mean, there's not a consistent history of complaints, then you could maybe revisit it and, you know, request additional times. I don't know, I'm just throwing things out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to this application. One of the things that, you know, with the seating to the front, there's not a lot of screening on this property to the back, which is where the residences are. And so I understand, like, as from a visual standpoint, I don't want to request more screening, but from a practical standpoint, there has to be some kind of noise mitigation. And I think that I would be curious to see how noise carries through there. And before I could support it or not as a board member, I would want to hear how noise carries through there. Because we may be surprised.
You know, honestly, it seems like every time somebody tries to start a business in Rappahannock County, we put up so many barriers that it's impossible to make it work. I mean, these guys are young, they want to start a business which is compatible with the countryside with the village. They've agreed to all sorts of restrictions. Amplified music can be just an electric guitar and an amplifier. It's not like, earth shaking. If what you want is to have.
Yeah, maybe it's more of a decibel restriction.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all have been down this path before with the noise discussion, and the challenge is once you start saying decibels or this or that we don't have any enforcement. This will be on Friday and Saturday nights. Are you in the county working on Friday and Saturday night, Michelle?
No,
No, she's not. So there's no point in establishing decibels because there will be no enforcement mechanism. So,
But all the other concerns you suggested are highly subjective.
Well, we say no noise or no, allow the amplification. We give you the okay. Then, and we can what up 1,000 things, but Penn Druid goes, I want to do the same thing. And Hopkins Ordinary says, I want to do the same thing. And Burdett says, I want to do the same thing. And you're all doing it at the same time. Now, all down along Water Street, all through Sperryville, till 8 o'clock at
It'll
night.
be music, it'll be great.
And when they call from Water Street, I'll do it.
yeah, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and I appreciate what you said, Steph. The bottom line is that the challenge of the village is that you have commercial uses abutting residential areas, and people want a certain quality of life. There's people that commute and need to go to bed at a certain hour, and there's people with small children that put them to bed early. I know you're one of them. We want you to do well with your business, but we want it to be compatible with the other people living and working in the area.
That's right.
Absolutely want that.
And I think that if you reevaluate it after a year, then you'll have some more substantive that we didn't have any problems. We can, increase it or whatever. That's my thoughts. I don't want to dissuade anyone either, but at the same token, there are, several people that live, a lot of people live in Sperryville. Some of them older. Not everybody likes music as an aficionado, but and some people just like to complain. Trust me, I know that one. But I think the piece of start with this, if it's acceptable, and then reevaluate in a year, and then maybe we can expand it to, whatever the full thing you're looking at. I don't want to say no completely.
Okay, so the hours, how does everybody else feel about the hours?
I think they should ask to stay open until midnight.
They would be open then when we wrap up our meetings.
I think the hours 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. through the week, and then open until 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Perfectly respectable. What they're proposing.
And that was Saturday, 10 p.m.? And no Sunday hours?
Sunday.
You can say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing because you comment last time.
Yes, sir.
Conflict. So what's your purpose of the review 1 year?
To see if there are complaints, and if there aren't, and they want ask to increase it to, instead of 6, 10 times or whatever, we'll have more of a local, either the.
Foundation of data.
I'm trying to understand, can you take away from their permit?
No,
You're
not in the course of a
their
review.
permit.
Yes, sir.
This is just, so the purpose of the review then in 1 year is what now?
To allow them the opportunity if they want to, well, I guess you really wouldn't have to, then you could just resubmit a whole other.
If they don't come to you wanting anything, you're gonna have to review?
Yeah, so it's right, it's me, we wouldn't need it at all.
I'm happy to withdraw that detail from my recommendations.
I just want to make sure it's not a potential for them to lose
Oh,
everything.
no, it is, we don't typically do that, it had just been mentioned, so I included it in the motion.
Some of the reviews we have was a permit only for 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so, and then at 1 year, it was all new game again. But that's not what you're talking about.
No, sir.
I mean, so if they don't come to you in a year, you're not gonna have a review.
Do you want to take that part out? or-
Yes, please scratch that.
Okay, we're scratching that.
So if you want to change it in the year, then you have to come back and.
That's a motion.
Got it.
You didn't get a second yet, did you?
I did not.
I'll second it.
All right, and with that, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You all have a good evening. It's good to see you. Let's take a brief 5-minute recess, please. Sorry.
Let me get a walk out. Hell no.
All right, everybody in the spot. That takes us on to the next agenda item of the evening, the transient lodging amendment. We have been working on this for some time, and at their most recent meeting, the Board of Supervisors, I know we have asked for a priority in the listing of assignments from the Board of Supervisors, and have always tried to work in the order of priority assigned by the board. At the last Board of Supervisors meeting, this transient lodging amendments language was deprioritized by the board. And, you know, I made sure I knew which was a priority. And the new priority is H1, the outdoor lighting zoning ordinance amendment preliminary review. So I do think that transient lodging amendments are important. I just think perhaps, and I think the board would like to see us working on the outdoor lighting ordinance and the subdivision plan language. I know Michelle has circulated some dates for a work session.
Thank you.
Did you all want to work through this tonight, or the date that we put forward that all seemed to work in the Google poll was July 8th at 5 p.m. Is that still an agreeable time for everybody? All right. So,
Here,
Yes.
yes. So I certainly don't want to curtail discussion if people want to discuss the outdoor lighting zoning ordinance amendment this evening. But I know frequently we get to this point in our agenda where it's the workload for the meeting, and it's 9:30, and it's tough to make headway. So we had talked about previously scheduling a work session, and this July 8th seems to work.
See, this marked up copy was marked up by you, Mr. Curry,
Mr. Curry and,
Mr. Goff.
yes, sir.
Mr. Goff too?
I believe so.
I was going to suggest to facilitate it this evening that we,
Yes.
that we ask our staff to incorporate the comments that we've received via email in a way that differentiates them from what was referred by the board. And that way we'll be prepared for the work session.
Okay.
When you say incorporate, what do you mean?
Well, I would rely on staff to, maybe out to the side, make a note. Maybe incorporate's not the right word, but so we can review it simultaneously and know this is the staff recommended language. And then out to the side, if there's proposed changes that the public has made, that those notes are off to the right and we can review those at the same time in the work session.
What about, I'm assuming that Claire, what you proposed is similar to what Tony proposed.
I expect there's a lot of redundancy.
Yeah. So, maybe what we could do is just have what staff has done and then have separate piece of paper or separate ordinance with the way it would look were we to incorporate all of the proposed.
Okay, so it would be two separate versions. It would be staff version and then including public comments.
I think it'd be easier than trying to crush everything into the margins.
Okay.
I don't know, what do you think? Michelle?
That's fine. That'll work.
Other preferences?
Well, let me just say this, where I'm going to be coming from on this.
Yes, sir.
You know, we first ran into the lighting ordinance, into a lighting question when we did the site plan for the old Rappahannock National Bank across from the old Hampton Inn. And we spent a lot of time on the lighting for that, and that's kind of where the commercial light ordinance was developed and came from, all that. And it was applied then only to the commercial properties in the county. And we've always paid attention to this when it came to residential uses. And when applicants came in for special use permits and things like this, and we applied it to that. And I think that the people in the county are very much acceptant of it, and they support it, and they have voluntarily done it. I really, traveling around the county, I really don't see where there's substantial abuses, or any abuses really, of lighting on particularly new properties, and everybody adheres to it, whether it's the architects, and I think most of it is their own desire. So I'm happy to put another layer of regulation on our people, but is it going to be exceptionally technical and burdensome? I don't think we should need to go that way. I think the citizens, if they know about it, it goes a long ways into addressing it. And I don't want to address a problem that doesn't exist, that hasn't existed and hasn't developed. And I think if anything, it's almost a voluntary program now that people have gotten into. So, if you want to be a property rights person, you would say, we don't need this, but I'm not going to say that. But I don't want to create a regulation that, that is burdensome, and the enforcement of it is very difficult.
There are a lot of people who do not think about what kind of lighting they put in. And unless they're required to do it, they're not going to do it. They're not going to, people think they need to be secure by having like the biggest light ever shining into everybody else's property. Why not do it? Why not? If it's a value that we hold, why don't we put it in an ordinance?
But you're going to go forward from new construction on, correct?
Yeah. Or modification.
That's the question. We've been very successful promoting dark skies with what I call the carrot approach. This is making it a stick approach. We're creating regulation and requiring you to do it instead of having it aspirational that's codified. So, I know why people want it. I understand it. I get the property rights thing. I don't want to be told what to do with my own property. But the board has referred it to us and we'll work on it.
You know, the board, you know, two smart people did this draft,
Right.
and, you know, if this is 4 pages or 5 pages, whatever number of pages it is, I don't want to create 2 to 3 times this number of pages. I think this goes a long ways of touching all the bases and making it, and of course it needs some tweaking, but we don't need to spend, you know, 5 months and create 15, 20 pages out of triple the size of this thing. I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary
Yeah.
either. But if we have that, and then we have the additional public supplied comments, which I think are quite thorough, and we should be able to work through them quickly. We should be able to fold those into what staff has crafted and have it prepared for the board a work session or two.
Yeah, in fact, what's being proposed is much simpler and shorter than what we have. So if brevity is what you want, go with the changes.
So, does that work, session date still work for everybody?
Does.
All right, sounds good. So we'll plan then to work both, I think, on this lighting zoning ordinance amendment and start on the subdivision land chapter in that work session, if that's agreeable. And if we get through one to the other, that's great. If we just get one done, then we'll have another work session. But I think it's a good thing to have this time set aside outside of regularly scheduled meetings.
And the second part is going to be the land issue subdivision or just the lodging?
The land issue, the subdivision of land, with that coming from the Commonwealth, I think that is the more urgent question. And we may have questions generated based on comments tonight.
I would hope that Mr. Goff or Mr. Curry come to that one, and if
Yes.
we don't need them for the lighting,
Yes,
we need them for this and do the land part first so they can go.
yes,
But I think our ability to maneuver within that land section is going to be very limited.
I agree. And
So-
their staff was out of pocket.
I mean, we can listen, you know, to what the public says, but our ability to put things down differently is maybe non-existent.
It has to stick at the end of the day.
It says the state code has to be implemented on July 1st. So your July 8th, we'll miss that date.
We've missed other days before.
The bottom line is if we're not in compliance with state code prevails. So that's
I guess
the
we
bottom
don't need to
line.
be here.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna give in to this,
Do what now?
No.
Why have a discussion about it if you're just gonna give it to the state code?
What is she going to do?
You can put layers in front of it, like transient houses, why take things off of it? Add 8 more trees. To have a transient house, you have to have 8 trees in front of it.
We just went from talk about land development to transient housing.
Well, I'm just saying you guys are kicking every little thing off of the codes. No more lights, it's too many lights. Make it easier, make it easier. How about make it harder? It's a word my mother taught me, which was no. How about no?
Fortunately, we live in the United States of America, and everybody has property rights. I give you something, you're taking away from somebody else.
We used to poop in
You know-
outhouses and drive cars without seatbelts.
You know, so everybody has property rights, we have to address everybody's rights and be fair to everyone and have people here. And that's why we're here. That's why I get paid $50 a month to come and listen to this, okay?
And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you very much.
All right, so now we've heard from the public, which is basically another public comment period. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? One other member of the public has had an opportunity to speak. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Well, this is just, we're wrong to here, but Claire Castle, Stonewall, Concord. And I would just urge you to look at Dark Sky International, all of the work that's been put into model ordinances. There's a lot of good information there. The other, and also I wasn't aware of the timeline, for finalizing the ordinance. So will there be another opportunity for comment? Would it make sense for us, for
There'll
me?
be many opportunities for comment between before anything is adopted.
Okay, so it would be okay, for instance, to send in a complete red-lined draft of the ordinance.
Just bear in mind that it can be cumbersome if there are multiple copies of something circulating it at one time, then everyone will wonder to which copy you are referring.
Yeah.
We have been here before. So that's why one central repository, all the work focuses on one central repository. Otherwise everyone is not singing from the same hymnal.
Right. So those comments, another red line version should come to you by when?
I would say we appreciate very much that the comments that you have furnished to the commission, and we will work to incorporate them in a standard way when we undertake our work session with the assistance of our staff. And if you could allow us to work through the comments that we have already received before providing additional comments, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I really appreciate you.
Great.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, thank you very much.
I would.
Yes, Brian.
I was kind of curious myself as to if there was something in particular that was driving this ordinance change or amendment. And I got to thinking that the only light in this county, ironically, that bothers me is the Wakefield sign. There is a spotlight that shines to the north and blinds me for a split second. So could you go out there and just adjust it back towards the sign and away from the road? That's it. That's the only light that's bothering me.
Well, I think it's an interesting topic, and we'll certainly work through it in our sessions coming up, and be able to provide that comment back to the board and with the recommended changes. So if it's agreeable to all the members of the commission, certainly if anyone has anything else to say on either the outdoor lighting zoning ordinance amendment or the subdivision of land amendment, I don't want to impede anyone from commenting tonight. All right, and then we have the list of direction for the zoning ordinance amendments from the board of supervisors, which has been updated to reflect the top priority being the outdoor lighting zoning ordinance amendment. Roundtable discussion. Anyone have anything?
I just want to say, kid doesn't get in trouble in school, he can be contributing to the delinquency, I'm just saying. I said no.
I just wanted to say that Wakefield is my alma mater, and you all made me very proud this evening by coming out and speaking publicly. That's a tough thing to do in a room full of people, and you both did an excellent job. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right.
Let me say something. I'd like to commend the board. We did really good work tonight.
We did.
We addressed that mixed up on the highway, sent that person off in a good direction. Everything we know when it gets done is going to be done right. Y'all did a great job with the brewery. You addressed everything. You recognized the business in the middle of town and how the economic development and the village of Sperry. We did a great job there. We looked at the issues on the mountain down on Juba Lane, thought about those things. We tackled a lot of issues tonight in depth, and we had good discussion on everything. So we did a good job tonight.
Thank you for the reminder, Al. And in case I don't convey it enough, the board really appreciates all the hard work that the commission puts forward.
And as a board member, do we earn our $50?
I'm telling you, you all are the front line on the planning and zoning front, and the board members all appreciate it.
You gotta let you check.
It reminds me, I'll ask Steph to cut it soon. Yes, and Michelle has graciously reminded me to continue this meeting until July 8th at 5 PM here in the county courthouse. And is there any other action necessary on that, Michelle? A motion and a vote?
Motion, yeah.
So that's my motion to continue till July 8th at 5 PM here at the county courthouse.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all for coming out this evening.
It's both. Not every morning, I sound like